by Rinon. Rinon's been popping off with these videos recently, so we're gonna watch another one. Here's why Final Fantasy XIV players are bad. You heard that? You guys suck. You guys fucking suck. Here's why you're bad. Rinon's gonna tell us. Let's go, Rinon. I want to hear it. And to be fair, just from the title, you know, it's true. There's a lot of that. But I want to see his explanations and stuff like that. Because let's be honest, yes, there's a lot of bad fucking players. But hey, I think there's bad players everywhere. But let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna hit you with a statement that I think should not be controversial. At max level, you should know how to do your rotation.
Yes,
Does
you
that
should.
make me toxic? I don't
No.
know, but I don't blame you either way. I know you're doing your best. You want to know who I do blame? Square Enix.
Nightmare.
No, 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 no.
He's not comboing.
Wait.
There's a reason your expert roulette varies so much in length. You could have a nice 11 to 12 minute run, or you could be stuck there for 25. There's also
Yeah, bro, didn't we have an incident with this, with some guy not using fucking AoE in the dungeon? You guys heard about that shit? Dude, that guy was something else.
a reason.
And then we had that one guy defending the guy that shouldn't be defended, and then it started like a whole thing because the dude wouldn't fucking AoE. I mean, shit, man, he's max level, he doesn't know his fucking AoE, what the fuck? Yeah, it's like a whole video. Yeah, I made a video about it as well. It was crazy.
Why your extreme trial somehow manages to hit Enrage, despite you not having many deaths. It's not because you missed that one positional, and it's also not because the tank got distracted by the catgirl's glamour.
Wow.
It's because
Oh, wow.
Final Fantasy XIV does not teach you how to play it correctly. A little while back, I made a video talking about the low-level experience and why I had an issue.
I'll go back on that, the point you just made earlier. Yeah, Final Fantasy doesn't do a good job at like fully explaining everything, but they do kind of lead you to understanding some main parts. Okay, like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna go in game here to kind of showcase this. You are stupid if the game is glowing yellow, telling you that after you press Death Blossom and you hit something and this glows, right? You are stupid to not press that button. Because it's a combo. If you don't have the combo, I mean, shit, you're fucking stupid. I mean, does the game need to explain that? I mean, they kind of show it. They kind of teach you if you do the, what do you call it? There's like a tutorial that the game has, right? Where is it again? Shit. There was like a tutorial where you talk to the guy and then you go through like roles. I don't think I even have it here. I don't know where it is, but basically it teaches you it before you even enter this first Sastasha dungeon. Yeah, so the game actually does a good job at explaining like at least the absolute basics with tank stance, enmity, healing. They teach you about aggro, they teach you about like positionals with DPS. Like if the player doesn't even play that, it's their fault. I feel like the game does a good job, especially early on. Maybe not later on. Like with rotation and stuff, obviously you're gonna have to research. But I think people underestimate just how really good the beginning tutorial is. I forgot the name of it, man, but it's like a series of arenas you're gonna do before your first dungeon. You have to do it. And you can do all of them, and you understand like the absolute basics. The game should 100% teach you how basic weaving works. Yes, yeah, that's something they should talk about. Yeah, Luppy, exactly right. Like they can put you in an arena with a dummy and be like, hey, if you press this button, you can also press this button. There's global GCDs and off-global GCDs. And yes, Hall of Novice, yes, exactly that. They could probably include that in the Hall of Novice, sure. I mean, like at the same time, I feel like for me personally, it just seems really basic. That, I don't know, I kind of just knew that like that's a GCD, that's an off GCD. It's not rolling when I press the GCD. But yeah, I mean sure, like for a beginner, 100% they should include like all the tools necessary, like 100%. There's no reason not to. Hall of Novice is completely ignored, to be honest. Whose fault is that? The player's fault.
A little while.
If you're not willing to learn, then well fuck. Maybe Rinon's gonna make that point right now.
14 does not teach you how to
Let's
play
hear
it correctly. A little while back, I made a video talking about the low-level experience and why I had an issue with the fact that a lot of jobs don't unlock their AoE skills early. And I felt that some jobs gained a feature-complete rotation way too late in the leveling process.
Yeah, why the fuck does Dragoon have their first AoE at level 40 plus? Yeah, actually why?
And in that video, I said I'd talk about how FF14's teaching tools need work badly. It's been a few weeks. My complaining quota needs fulfilling once more.
He's right.
So today is that day. Let's talk about it. So what do you need?
They need to make the Hall of Novice even better. Like, just rework it. And add more stuff to it. I think that's a really good beginner tool to understand the absolute basics, but they need to dive more into it. Just rework it for Dawntrail, especially for Dawntrail.
To be a solid FF14 player, obviously you need a good understanding of your job.
Understanding your job.
You need a good understanding of the game's fundamentals. You need knowledge of recurring mechanics. And you need the capability to know your role in a team as well as what your teammates offer.
I think some things here are going to be like straight out the bat, you should know by default. And it's understanding your job, read the tooltips, right? Get experience, all that, know your rotation. And understanding your role, what am I supposed to do as a melee DPS, all that stuff. Yeah, you can get those down. Now, game fundamentals, right? When you say fundamentals, I assume he means like, oh, tanks turn on tank stance, healers heal, shields, healers, they give shield, tactician. I guess, like with those, I'm not sure. When he means game fundamentals, what does he mean exactly? Like, which fundamentals is he talking about? But yeah, if fundamentals, if we were to break it down to the absolute simplicity, yeah, this can be grasped pretty early on. Otherwise, not. Like, if we're gonna talk like, you know, fucking Nidhogg tank buster, Nidhogg tanks, what's it called, stack marker. People fuck that up because they didn't know. No recurring mechanics. This one will take time. If you're learning the game, knowing recurring mechanics, this will take time. Because you have to experience multiple raids, you have to understand multiple things. It's the raid language. So out of all these 4 points, I think the third one is going to take absolutely the most time. Game fundamentals, I guess, talk about mechanic. I think the 4th point is mechanics, so maybe the 2nd point is something else. I think he's talking about like buffs, mitigations, you know, the absolute things that you have to like know.
There's obviously more, but I feel like that's kind of the baseline, right?
Yeah, that's
if we
the baseline.
simplify it down even further, we can expect players to learn their 3 Ps by endgame. Push buttons, party support, play the mechanics, doofus. I think that's reasonable.
Yep.
There will always be different capabilities and skill levels, that's completely normal. As well as that, there will always be differing aspirations and situations which will lead to different people wanting to put different levels of effort into learning. That's
Sure.
okay. It's totally okay to be a more casual player and be a little more in progress. It's respectable. But what I think isn't really respectable...
If you don't even fucking know the basics, you don't even fucking try, then yeah, that's like stupid as fuck.
It's not bothering to learn your rotation, or even your role responsibilities, not attempting to use mitigation, and not at least trying to learn from your mistakes when it comes to mechanical execution. And how can you be sure players are at least at that baseline? By teaching them. FF14 should have tools and experiences built into the game that explicitly and with purpose teaches them those things. What does it have right now?
I absolutely agree with this, and I'm pretty sure he's going to mention the Hall of Novice in a sec, but I absolutely agree with this point. The moment you have to exit out of the game to find out how to even know the basics of the game is the moment the game failed to explain how to generally play it. I mean, the game should just explain from the beginning how the basics works. You shouldn't have to look it up. Yeah, he's right.
The Hall of the Novice. Today, we are going to look at the Hall of the Novice, see what it does right and wrong.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier, Hall of the Novice. Okay.
Theorycraft, how we could bring it up to today's standards.
Yes.
So what does the Hall of the Novice currently
rework.
offer? It was first introduced in patch 3.2, which was almost halfway through the game's first expansion, Heavensward. You unlock it right before Sastasha, and it is recommended but not required to enter. When you complete it, You get a neat little armor set that is equivalent to the gear that drops from the first set of dungeons in the game, and honestly it looks pretty nice for early game gear as well. And you also get a brand new ring to provide tasty stats and a lovely XP buff. The rewards are simple, but I think pretty worth it, and it's something I recommend new players to do for that alone. But what does it teach you? So firstly, interestingly, there currently is a different version of the Hall of the Novice depending on which role you enter on. I didn't know that until
I did all 3
quite recently. And each version of the Hall of the Novice has different activities and even a different number of training sessions based on your role. For example, Tank has the most with 8 unique training exercises, DPS has 7, and Healer has by far the least with 5. If that doesn't tell you that Healer propaganda has been convincing you of a lie and that it's actually the easiest role, I don't know what will. They all start off by having you dodge simple AoEs, and a final test that quote-unquote aggregates all the knowledge you've gained so far, but from there they somewhat diverge. Healer has you healing an ally, healing multiple allies, and dodging AoEs that aren't aimed at you, as well as not hitting your allies with AoEs targeted at you, which, as an aside, has to be divine intervention by Yoshi P to get people to leave his bloody...
He's right. If it's just like, oh, just heal the target, they need to make it so like you're dodging stuff while healing here. I thought they did that though. I honestly thought they put that in Hall of Novice. I must have forgotten how Hall of Novice was.
AoEs targeted at you, which, as an aside, has to be divine intervention by Yoshi P to get people to leave his bloody ley lines alone. DPS has numerous exercises teaching you that you have to kill enemies, dodging AoEs, targeting a tank, and for some reason, DPS and only DPS are taught to interact with objects on the battlefield. So next time the Bard refuses to grab those orbs in the Cerberus encounter, we all know to spam report on that one guy. Tanks learn to do their basic combo, to pull mobs to use their AoE skills, and to pull via shield lob or an equivalent skill. Basically, all of their lessons tie into tanking and holding aggro, but the things they actually have you do in order to get there definitely comes together as the most complete beginner class of the 3. What I think is interesting is that I doubt most people even know that the Hall of the Novice is different per role. What's even more interesting is that I actually feel like, for the point in the...
Maybe they don't even do it. Like, they do the first one for their role, but if they pick up another role and they don't know shit, they never try the Hall of the Novice, so they don't even know the absolute fundamentals.
Getting where you're at when you unlock it, aka level 15, this is actually a really solid set of tutorials to make new players
I agree.
duty ready on their role. I'm a fan. It's good, great work. No sarcasm, no nothing. But the game does not end at level 15. As players get further into their Final Fantasy XIV experience, their skill and capability, and more importantly their knowledge base, are going to naturally lag behind what's expected.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot more.
After
I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest, like, when I was learning this game, after I did the Hall of Novice, and like, I don't want to be egotistical, right? But like, obviously because I came from Guild Wars 2, I had MMO experience. I picked it up pretty fine. Like, I just did the Hall of Novice, I did the raids, I did the dungeon, I did that stuff. I picked it up all right? Pretty average. Like, wasn't crazy. Like, I didn't always cast. I didn't always... What the fuck is happening? What the fuck? Bro, it's fucking bots following me and shit. The hell's this? Dude, I got fucking random ass bots following me. What the fuck is happening? Wow. That was kind of weird. Someone fought? Yeah, probably. What the hell is this shit? Wow, that was kind of weird. Literally in the middle of my react, I got bombarded with shit. Fuck off, man. Shit, hold up. I need to make the thing smaller. Because it's gonna keep doing that for the next few seconds, probably. Yeah, sorry about that. Where was I, man? Where was I? Where was I? Right, I was talking. Okay, so if I... As I was playing the game, and because I played Guild Wars 2, I had MMO experience, I felt pretty fine. Like, entering into mid-game and late-game, I felt alright. Obviously, I didn't always use ABC rule, right? I didn't know full max melee uptime every time. I picked it up by watching this video. I'm going to show you exactly the video I watched. It's made by Momo. I wanted to understand. I reached max level. I wanted to reach max level. And after I got there and I started doing Eden Savage, this video was god tier. I recommend every single Melee player to watch this video. It is beyond good, beyond good. This taught me everything about ABC. It taught me about like everything I need to know what a Melee should do. Excellent video. So yeah, Momo, really good source for that. But yeah, where's the video again? Goodness. Okay, here we go. Can I just like turn this off? I don't think I can. Okay.
Finishing Hall of the Novice, they're thrown on the street and expected to fend for themselves forever. The options are to find guides or to delve into Discord servers, spend an unhealthy number of hours figuring out rotations yourself, or just kind of suck at the game. And I don't think that's right.
I have a few inputs on this. Let's go back a bit.
Options are to find guides or to delve into Discord servers, spend an unhealthy number of hours figuring out rotations yourself, or just kind of suck at the game. And I don't think that's right.
Okay. I don't think the game should tell you one concrete... as soon as I'm about to say something. I don't think the game should concrete tell you what your rotation should look like. The game already does that with GCD comboing. It gives you a baseline understanding. But I think now they can tell you, of course, they can tell you stuff like, hey, use your buff windows 120 seconds and all that stuff. But they're not going to dive deep into that. The player should have room to explore. And like, if the balance didn't exist, this shit would be completely different. Right now, it's pretty much expected that if you're going to do ultimate raids, if you're going to do savage raids, you need to know how the shit works. You need to know, you got to be in the balance Discord. You got to understand buffs. You got to understand, your burst windows. That's going to come with joining Discords. I don't think the game is going to like, I don't think the game is required to teach you every detail with that. Because this is like community built. And the community knows how to get the highest DPS possible. For example, like if we're talking like a Melee. Or whatever, really.
We need additional halls for more experienced players. So let's assume there's a Hall of the Expert that you get later into your leveling process. At the end of the current free trial, level 70, that seems like a decent potential spot, right? You could also make a good argument for level 50 or level 60 as well. Now this is the part of
level thresholds. I can see that.
The video where we have delusions of grandeur for a moment. Let's pretend Yoshi P hired us, me and you, to design new training tools in order to give new players a more thorough and realistic entry to endgame.
Here's the thing. I think the community understands this kind of shit very well because they literally play this game for thousands of hours. Like, generally speaking, if we were to be hired by Yoshi P, we'd completely rework a lot of the systems when it comes to training because we have so much experience that we just know. Like, we'd rework it completely. Yeah, like, the thing is, you don't want to overwhelm the player either with, like, let's say it's a forced tutorial and you have to follow this exact series of steps to do the rotation. Yes, we could do it. And if you fuck up, you guys know, Street Fighter? You know how in Street Fighter, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and pull up Paint. Paint is my best friend, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. You know how in Street Fighter, you have trials, right? And they give you, like, do right arrow and then square. Like right arrow, square, let's say triangle, and then let's say it goes like right and then down right, and then you press like whatever, let's say L1 plus fucking, let's say circle, and this is like a combo or something, right? Like, there's, like, trials in Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Let's just say this is, like, the game teaching you a rotation in some way. Final Fantasy, if they want to go this route, they could make trials per job to teach you, like, basic rotation. Right now, like, the most basic thing they do is 1, 2, 3. The game 100% obviously indicates to you... Let me just go to Yansha. The game indicates to you with a glowing color, showing you like, okay, this is how you do the combo. Outside of that, they don't really offer much. And the question is, like, should they offer more than that? They could through some trial tutorial. I think I wouldn't mind something like that. But again, all these rotations are built by the community. The developers of the game aren't gonna hand carry you and teach you every single detail on how to what should you do inside Trick Attack, Raiton, Hyosho, Dwad, Tenchi-Jin, blah blah blah. You know, they're not gonna go like to that degree. I feel like if you want to become a good player in FF, if you want to take that step, you have to be willing to try. You have to look at outside sources. You have to look at players with experience. I don't think the game should teach you those things, because that's the type of shit that's gonna be like for players that want to get good, like really get good. Right now, if you're a basic player, you just need to know combos. Look at this. It's glowing yellow. It tells me my next one is a combo. Okay, now I get to choose Armor Crush or Aeolion. And I just read Aeolion, rear. This is flank. This is to get Huton. I press this if I want to do that. And that leaves like more decisions. And Dragoon has more other shit. Like, this is like as basic as it can get. I don't mind the idea of a trial though, kind of like the Street Fighter example I give, where it teaches you like, okay, do this, and when you use Trick Attack, you can Raiton. I don't mind the idea. I just don't think it should be in-depth, because it's community built. It's always been. The balance has always been community built. It should be, before you do Savage, they could, yeah, maybe they could put a system like that where like before you enter Savage, maybe like, okay, we have Stone Sky Sea, right? Stone Sky Sea, I mean, it teaches you, hey, this is how, you know, you have to kill the dummy in this amount of time, right? And if you kill in this amount of time, you're doing good damage. Like, that's the extent that they teach you. Like, in terms of, okay, this is how much damage you need to do. It's ass. Yeah, like, but I'm saying, like, this is what the game provides, pretty much. This is, like, the best that we got when it comes to DPS check. Yeah. I'm not saying they teach you the exact steps of your rotation, but it's as good as it can get right now. And the way they can improve on this is either add, like, a step-by-step rotation thing. But again, at the end of the day, I feel like this kind of thing is community built. It's community driven. Like, I don't know. If they're going to implement a system like that, they got to go all in, basically. And they got to do that for every single expansion, because stuff is going to change every single expansion. Literally. So you'd have to rework the beginner, whatever, experience and learning stuff. They'd have to rework it every expansion, because you're going to have new abilities, new stuff is going to change. So yeah, it's a lot of work, of course, because it differs from job to job. Teaches you nothing for hard content. You learn while doing the fight, which is too late. Yeah, it doesn't teach you for hard content. It's mainly like early on, which should be the case when it comes to like learning early on. The game should tell you what stuff to do early on. I think they should teach you mid-game, but late game, like really optimizing, I feel like you should go out and check Discords and stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking of ways the game would implement a feature like that actually has a long life and it works and people would genuinely do it and learn from it. Like in Guild Wars 2, we have the same idea. It's like you put the training dummy, you hit the training dummy, and where do you learn this rotation from? Guess what? You learn it from Snow Crows. This is how you play Guild Wars 2. You go in Snow Crows, you look at benchmarks, you look at the guides, you look at the builds. Okay, I play a thief. Here is all the different builds. I look at Power Daredevil. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is the rotation. There's a video for the rotation. I feel like this is the same for other games. I don't know. And like these are really good information. People will just have to go take that extra step to deal the maximum damage. I don't know. My point of view on this is kind of mixed a little bit, because I would love to have a system like this in the game, but we also have to think about
statement that I think should.
We have to think about like, wait, what the fuck? The video restarted? Okay, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, they would have to really think about it deep in a way that's not going to be overwhelming. And I feel like the community will... They have to go basic. If it's going to be in the game, has to be basic. You cannot add the in-depth shit. It's not, and I don't mean just combos. Teach them buffs. Teach them those kind of things too.
This is the part of the video where we have delusions of grandeur for a moment. Let's pretend Yoshi P hired us, me and you, to design new training tools in order to give new players a more thorough and realistic entry to endgame.
I want to see Rinon's point of view on that.
We get a pay rise. We get it wrong, we get rocketed into space on the back of an Amaro and explode or something like that. Time to get cooking. First up, I think the concept of having split halls per role is an absolutely great idea. Good job, Square Enix, but it doesn't go far enough. There should be a Hall of the Expert for your role. And by role, I don't just mean DPS, tank or healer. I mean having at least 1 or 2 lessons that are unique within each role within that category. So shield healers will get 1 or 2 unique tutorials.
True. I can agree with that. Melee, range, fizz, caster, they should be separated too.
To regen healers, range to melee, and so on. But going further than that, every individual job will also get 2 unique lectures specific to them. Let's quickly cover those first because they're really simple. You'll have one floor that has the sole intention of teaching you the correct basic rotation for your job and the priorities if it's a proc or priority system.
Yeah, like a trial system like Street Fighter, teaching you like the combos and more than that.
Base job, both single target and daily. And by basic rotation, I don't just mean 1, 2, 3. I mean it teaches you the core of everything. Let's take Bard as an example and assume the hall is at level 70. It would teach you the 3 songs and to cycle them. It would teach you the dots and using Iron Jaws to refresh them.
This would be like an advanced Hall of the Novice. Like instead of Hall of the Novice, it would be Hall of the fucking, I don't know, call it whatever. Hall of the Advanced, some shit. It's gonna be a bit more. But it's still gonna be basic. The community will always have something that's the most optimal. But yeah, this is good though. Because it's gonna teach you the absolute basics. Yeah, like that Red Mage picture. That's a really good picture, by the way. The whatever it was. This one. That's really good. Because that's like showing each like path you take, what it's gonna be, and the player needs to understand what these all are instead of just mashing their buttons. Yeah, that's good. Like, teach them that.
The hall is at level 70. It would teach you the 3 songs and to cycle them. It would teach you the dots and using Iron Jaws to refresh them. It would teach you how...
Complexity is something good. It's why games are awesome. That's, for example, why PO is successful. FF is by far the most casual MMO on the market. Yeah, exactly. Like, being good at FF requires effort, yes. But if we compare this to other games, I'm going to be honest, it's not as difficult. Like, I'm level 35 in World of Warcraft, and I already feel like, holy fuck, I gotta use stealth, and then hit, and then also not overcap my combo points, and it feels faster. Like, it feels faster than FF. The pacing and the combat is faster. Definitely, I can say that.
How to use your Effulgent Arrow procs as a priority, and to use your off-globals and personal buffs. A simple example of how they could...
Yeah, a simple example, I like that. Yes, I do like that.
Showcase this is as follows. It gives you 2 stacks of Pitch Perfect, and tells you that this enemy will only take damage from...
People abandon this game because mostly of no teaching at all. You can clear most of the content knowing nothing. Yes, it does reward players by just doing wrong stuff. Yes. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's some truth to that. Yes, I can see that. But I don't think that's the only reason, though. It's not just because of no teaching at all, but it also has to do with they don't want to go that extra step to be good. It's just they accept that they're just that type of player, and that's it. They don't want to get better than this. So a lot of the time, Kubaks, it has to do. There's no reason to be good. There is no reason to be good though. No, there is. If you're not good, how are you gonna play the ultimate content and all that stuff? Like you still need to be good to be able to clear ultimates. You need to be good even for Savage. And I consider Savage to be mid-core content You need to be at least that level. You have to be. Otherwise, you're just not going to clear. Or you're just going to be dying, you're going to be a hindrance to the team, and you're not doing any damage. You're kind of just, like, worthless. Obviously, anything under Savage, you're going to clear that shit easy. You don't need to be good. Normal raids, roulettes, that's the category I'd put it. I'd even say extreme, you still need to be, like, somewhat decent. Like, you need to know what buff alignment means. I mean, come on. You have to go that extra mile. But again, a lot of the people that are bad in FF are people that just don't go that extra step. They're not willing to go and learn it. They're just gonna play the game casually and not even know basics. And that's just the way they view the game. And they need to know at least the basics. We're not asking players to be like gods. We're not asking people to be really good. Just know basics enough to the point where, like, it's acceptable.
Armor 3 stack pitch perfect, and it has you use your Imperial Arrow to...
There's a certain level, okay? In Ultimates, I expect you to be better than the average player somewhat, okay? Maybe not the best, but I expect you to be better than, like, average players. In Savage, it's fine. I'll expect average players in Savage, but know your shit, know your buffs, know your... There's just, like, a limit. There's a level of expectation based on the content you're doing. And that's fine. Like, as long as there is that, and people are good at that level, at that type of content, then that's good. That's the way it should be. The problem is, why can't you even beat the story with just pressing 1-1? Why is that possible? Even while that's not possible, ESO and Guild Wars 2 as well. Damn, do people actually play like that, though? They just press 1-1-1-1. I mean, let's give an example here. You guys remember the Thancred and Ranjit fight? Are you gonna tell me that pressing 1-1-1-1 against the Ranjit fight as Thancred is gonna be fine and you can just beat him? Because I heard a lot of people struggled with that one when they tried. I mean, I did it first time, but I mean, it wasn't like crazy hard, but it was kind of difficult still because, you know. Fail and swap to very easy mode? What the fuck? Can you even do that? Is that even an option? I never got that option because, I mean, shit, it felt pretty easy when I did it. I mean, I don't know. Fuck. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I mean, they fail until they get super easy mode. I guess to just get past the story. There's easy mode and super easy mode. There's a fucking easy mode? What the fuck? I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time hearing about this.
Prop the third
There's a
stack,
super
allow
easy.
you to kill the enemy, so you learn the way that Imperial Arrow procs the song buffs. This
Yeah, you know, I actually like this topic because it brings a lot of stuff regarding, like, generally speaking, how FF players look at the game and how they tackle difficult, quote-unquote, difficult content. Imagine doing MSQ as a healer, spamming one button and go through all the expansions. There's people that don't even do extreme trials. 5.2, I think they added different for solo duties. 5.2, 5.3.
enemy will
Yeah, shit, I don't know. I kind of just have my stance on it. Like, if they're doing MSQ content, it's solo content. They're not hurting anyone because they're doing it solo. Who cares? But I get what you guys are saying. It's because, like, it shouldn't be that easy where you can just get past it like that. What about the Hydaelyn fight in Endwalker? You know when you fought Hydaelyn and Elpis in that 1v1? Like, there was a lot of dodging you had to do there. There was a lot of movement. I don't know, I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, again, you guys mentioned there's super easy mode, so I understand. If there's super easy mode after failing multiple times, I guess that changes things, but, like, I felt like that 1v1 was pretty cool, though. I don't know, again, I think if you're playing MSQ and you're not playing perfectly, who cares? You're playing solo. If you're going to play extremes, if you're going to play Savage, Ultimates, there, like I said, there's levels that I expect the player to be good at. That's it. There's levels. It goes higher the harder the content is.
Only take damage from a 3-stack pitch perfect.
They should know the
And
basics.
it has you use your Imperial Arrow to prop the 3rd stack, allowing you to kill the enemy. So you learn the way that Imperial Arrow props the songbook.
Yes, I agree. They should definitely dive into the job gauge exactly and how it works. They actually do not explain that. He's right.
This tutorial would take the longest...
I'm leveling Bard right now, and they didn't explain that, so yeah. I pretty much just look at it and read the tooltip. The game does explain it through the tooltip, yes. Like when I pick Bard right now, they do explain that. Imperial Arrow. Not Imperial Arrow. Which one was it, man? It's the buff thing. Which buff was it again? That makes your Imperial Arrow hit. Help me out. Was it this one? 80% chance to grant. 80% chance to grant. Which song was it? No, it's not that. It's not that. Which fucking song? I actually don't know which song it was. Was it Battle Voice? No. Huh. I don't even remember which song, but it gave you like 3 arrows here. Do I not have it on my fucking hotbar? Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. Yes, this one. And then you get this. If you get 3 arrows, you press it. Like right now, it's 2. And then it will eventually light up 3, and then it makes that sound, bring, and then you press R, boom. Now that's 3. And then obviously, yeah. And then it keeps going up, 3, and then you press it again, that's 3. Yeah, that's what I was trying to look for. That's what I was trying to look for. And by reading the tooltip, it tells you that it grants you that chance. But yeah, you have to read the toolboxes and stuff like that, but it's not enough. People don't always read everything. It's better to just have things on execution. So I agree with Rinon on this point.
Of all, and would lead into the second job-specific trial. A DPS check with simple mechanics. Tanks will have a DPS check.
Yes! Job-specific trial. I completely agree. It's something like this, where it's like a trial like Street Fighter, but I think he meant trial like something else. Like doing mechanics solo, and like let's say there's a boss specific to that role. That'd be kind of cool.
Check which is hard, requiring you to press cooldowns. Healers will have the same, but with an NPC tank that they have to heal during the DPS check.
Yeah.
And the DPS will have the enemy moving around occasionally, dropping AoEs to dodge.
I think that's a good idea.
Wouldn't be timed
Solo
by
trial.
points, but they would expect the player to have learned the core rotation of their job in
Yeah.
order to pass. Just the core 1, 2, 3 would not be enough. You'd need to incorporate off-globals and gauge dumping as
Yes,
well. But this
I
is
like
just
that.
the start. The tutorials that will remain uniform across the board on every role would be one or a couple of halls that would introduce players to all uniform markers and telegraphs. This would include stacks, spread...
If you're playing a tank and the boss is casting a raid wide, maybe there could be text pop up during the practice of this trial saying, hey, this cast is a raid wide. You should use your AoE mitigation or something like that. They can definitely do that because that's going to teach the player, oh, okay, so I press this button when there's a raid wide happening. Aha, I know what I got to do. It's good. I like this idea a lot.
Prey, debuffs on party lists that need cleansing, Pyretic and Freeze could work well for this, for example, for people that can't cleanse, tank buster indicators, multi-stack markers,
Yeah.
AoEs, moving AoEs like Exaflares, rotating AoEs, light party stacks, knockbacks, pull-ins, every standardized mechanic that you've seen happen in the game regularly should be featured, especially those that have their own markers associated. Standardized markers that have been
associated.
propagated across the game are a language, and it's criminal that there is no dictionary provided to new
Yeah,
players
that's
by
true.
the game.
Like the way you learn all this raid language stuff is literally just by playing the game and experiencing them and then seeing how they work. But even sometimes you'll look at the fucking thing and you just won't know.
Where were the hills?
What were the L's? What were the L's, guys? What the fuck? Yeah, the Quinn experience, dude. Damn, they should have made a fucking solo trial for Quinn. When he joined,
the only way to learn the language is by accruing random pieces of
he would have
information
known
piecemeal
to
across
dodge the mechanic.
to learn the language is by accruing random pieces of information piecemeal across dozens and dozens of different fights. Introducing these mechanics in lessons and making them easy to digest would allow newer warriors of light to internalize them quickly. There should also be enemy cast bars covered, as well as cast bars originating from multiple enemies, requiring you to check the enemy list and avoid a simple
all the stuff he's explaining right now, these are things the player has to take it upon themselves to learn. He's right. I think making like a solo trial for the specific role, for your specific, like if you're melee, specific melee trial, which goes over this with like text pop-ups saying like this is what you need to do when the boss does this or whatever.
Of untelegraphed AoEs by paying attention to that list. This is something that becomes essential later in the game. Watching cast bars is not an optional skill to develop, so it's good to give them a trial by fire as soon as possible. Tanks would learn tank swapping with an NPC co-tank, boss movement and boss facing. While the need for these have diminished in Endwalker, they're still very prevalent in certain content. They would learn to tank multiple enemies, but it is a requirement for them to grab aggro quickly or the NPCs will die. You could give them a timer to pick up enemies before the DPS NPCs would start attacking. And yes, the subtext between the lines that I'm saying here is that tanks should learn that it is their responsibility to pick up stray mobs that are non-tank grabs, rather than standing there like a lemming and passive-aggressively spamming party chat. They could also get a lesson in tanking larger mob packs. The enemies have various size hitboxes and thus will be a little messy to group up, but they need to be moved away from squishier party members regardless. Mitigation is the other important test. Not just pop a cooldown to survive a hit, though that would be included.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
An extended test of auto attacks and tank busters cycled that tests not only the ability to pop cooldowns, but also has you space your cooldowns out over an extended period of time and pairing them essentially. The tutorial could give recommendations on good pairings even.
Like, all this stuff is really, really like, the player in the game, they need to really, really be willing to understand how to do all this. They have to be willing.
It could teach
like mitigation, spacing, and stuff like that. This is really important, by the way, because it's gonna happen across the board in the game where you have to space out your mitts and not dump everything.
You to use your 25 second with Rampart and then use your 25 second again with your 120. Could do things like that. Seeing as this is essential for even good dungeon gameplay, it's another must learn for tanks. Healers get some special education too. They're going to learn a few things and get it aired out and out in the open right away. They're going to learn to heal and DPS at the same time. Being able to use your off-global healing abilities in between filler damaging spells is something that Savage necessitates. Unless you plan on doing every piece of content when it's outdated, your damage participation is expected and in some pieces of content required. That's how the game is tuned, so it's something to teach healers clearly and properly. It's also important that healers don't just learn that you need to heal the tanks occasionally and also the raid. This is covered in the Hall of the Novice, and doesn't really give you a taste of the situations healers may find difficult. Instead, I'd love a lesson that puts you in 3 unique scenarios reminiscent of 3 endgame encounters, and asking them to get the NPC party through it.
I think no one would ever complain about this if this was in the game. I think more people would want newer players to just have these systems in the game itself rather than using outside sources. Obviously, they will definitely come to a point, guaranteed. They will come to a point where they will have to use outside sources because that's just the way it is. Alright, that's the way MMOs are. Alright, you use outside sources if you want to be super optimal. Alright, optimal rotation, optimal whatever. But I don't think anyone can say this shouldn't be in the game. Everyone would want this. Everyone loves this. We need this. The less you make the player go outside the game to find info, the better it is for the game in general.
5 in one piece. Firstly,
that should be the goal.
Singular raid hits with gaps between them that require mitigation to survive. This is especially important for shield healers to teach them to make use of their tools and not rely solely upon their AoE shield to mitigate. Secondly, multi-hit raid wides over an extended period of time, much like the Enrage of Neo-X-Death in 04S. Thirdly, single target spot healing on random targets, such as those that may be the recipients of...
with good in-game tutorial, you make them so invested in their class, they might want to get an extra step. Yeah, exactly. That's yeah. And then they go that extra step, and then they know what's up. Because I think at the end of the day, the most optimal thing ever isn't what the game's gonna tell you; it's what the community is gonna tell you, because they have the experience with the job. That's just the way it is, right? That's the way it's always been. But yeah, it's definitely a good foundation that the game has it. So you take that extra step. Yeah, you're right about that.
Prey in endgame content. Guardian applying dots to DPS springs to mind here for this. Healers need to be able to heal, mitigate, and deal damage, and that healing can take many forms. I think it's really important to give new players the opportunity to practice them comfortably and safely, so they don't get flamed because they're not ready in Duty Finder. And unlike the FF14 devs in half of the encounters in the game, I'm not going to let the DPS shirk all responsibility. They're going to have some unique tutorials as well. Melee would learn positionals, engaging and disengaging targets via gap closers, and be placed in scenarios where they need to...
I think everything he's saying should happen, like with that gap closer thing, but like, will the game go into detail with like, oh, keep melee uptime, use gap closer after an AoE happens to maintain uptime? I don't know if the game would ever dive into that, but I do agree that they should. Again, I'm just like thinking of it like, it's so unrealistic that they would add these things, because it just seems like, I don't know.
Engaging and disengaging targets.
I just don't see it happening.
And be placed in scenarios where they need to pull away from an enemy to dodge an AoE.
It's very specific situations.
And maintain their rotation for a short DPS.
This is the thing, Idex, is like, I think it's very specific situation. I don't know. I mean, it's not like crazy advanced, but it'd be nice to have regardless. But yeah. I'm just trying to be realistic.
Casters would learn to damage on the move, which I think would be slightly harder on some jobs than others.
Like when you're saying the gap closer thing, like I feel like
mechanics in their rotation, as they
wouldn't put that in the tutorial
for mechanics in extreme and higher trials. You know how ranged have to bait big AoEs in mechanics like Pantocrator? Something like that would work perfectly. All DPS would learn to use their mitigation options.
Who put that single target Doton? Who put that single target Doton? Huh? Me and him? We gotta have a little chat.
As well, because it is most...
Watch my ninja guide.
How
dare you?
Job description.
How dare you do this?
Those. All DPS would have map awareness tests.
Gonna have a little talk with them.
They have to fight, but occasionally small ads pop up and begin casting an enrage. A little bit like the butterflies in Ravana, requiring DPS to notice them and kill them quickly.
Sure, yeah, that's a good idea. Being aware more than just the boss in the middle.
This hall needs to cover absolutely everything. And I also think it should only be really pushed, or maybe even mandatory, if players want to enter Extreme Trial, Savage, or Ultimate content. The Hall of the Expert would be intending to check that players are able to understand their basic rotation, to know most of the core telegraphs in the game, and to know the responsibilities of their role, and to ensure they're able to execute them at a base endgame level. And honestly, I think that's pretty reasonable. You think I get fired? You think you get fired? Are we okay? Or are we going into orbit with the Amaro? My question for you today is this. If you could design one single tutorial to go in the Hall of the Novice, or in a theoretical Hall of the Expert, what would it be? Do you think the game needs additional teaching tools, or is the current status quo fine? I'd love to...
I think it needs more, yes. The thing is, how much more? And are we going to dive into the super deep, more like complex stuff?
Open up a bit of a discussion about this.
It needs to be made in such a way that isn't going to be overwhelming.
Because I personally believe
But I do agree that you could put a foundation for players, like, so they know what's up, and then after they know what's up, they use outside sources to better their rotation, to better their DPS, to better whatever. I think that's what should happen. I don't think it should be more than that. I think that's fine.
Something that a lot of players would love to see change in the future, and I'm definitely one of them. Your Party Finders and Duty Finder runs will thank you, Square Enix. I guarantee it. Thank you all so much for watching.
Good video,
Have a
though.
Fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you next week with another video.
Not gonna lie. Overall, good video. It's just about, if I'm gonna be realistic, if we're gonna be realistic, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna add intricate system to teach players all these things. I do think, however, that adding it and putting a foundation to start is good. But like all that stuff with like timing mitigation, for example, or paying attention outside, like if the boss is here and you have to pay attention to B marker and hit the add, like the game's not gonna teach you that. Like you just have to, you know, open your eyes, hit the thing, and then use your GCDs on it if you need to hit an add. Like the game's not gonna teach you that. I don't know. Am I crazy? I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Like I feel like the game won't go that far to give you that type of tutorial. Debuffs and buffs, I mean, you could just read them if you hover your mouse over them, and then you'll understand. Like, if one thing they could do is teach you, like, I mean, the game explains it, I feel. I don't know. Like, you just go here, and then you go to your buff, right? And it just tells you, like, oh, hey, this increases crit by 10% for 15 seconds. Like, do you need to know more than that? Well, the more complex thing would be to say, oh, you need to align this with other 120-second buffs. That would be like the more complex things. But would they even add that? What if the 120 meta dies and then that becomes irrelevant part of the tutorial? Like, there's a lot of things to consider. They're not going to tell you every single, like, scenario. And I don't think they should. But they should explain the absolute foundations. Definitely. The game doesn't tell you reprisal works on raid-wide in puddles, and new player thinks reprisers lower auto attack damage and tank busters. They should definitely explain that. In fact, I think they can even go more into detail with the tooltips on that. Like, instead of just saying what they're saying here, I think there's an easy solution to this. Add a bit more text to this to specify. Like, under this condition, it does that, you know? Reduce damage dealt by nearby enemies by 10%. Like, that's the knowledge that we have on this. And it seems pretty obvious to me, like, it just reduces damage dealt. Like, for me, when I read this, it means, like, just damage. And obviously, they could specify what types of damage. Sure. Tank buster, raid wide, blah, blah, blah. They could do that. But the term raid wide, the term tank buster, all that, the game doesn't necessarily explain those things. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think tank buster is explained though, right? Because that's like the most important thing as a tank. In the Hall of Novice, I think they talk about that. Or do they? I don't know. I haven't played Hall of Novice in a long time, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly. But I think adding more stuff in the toolbox, the tooltips, they do? Okay, good. Yeah, there we go. Just not all the other types of details. But yeah, they should definitely talk about reprisal. They should talk about mitigation. Even the video was showing it. Oh, the video was showing a tank buster in the thing? Alright, cool. Yeah, I think I missed it then. That's good. Yeah, that's good that's in the tutorial. So like, they have some things, just not everything. Anyway, he's totally right. Rinon's right on a lot of things. I just, I'm trying to be realistic. And I really doubt that the recommendations he put will ever be put into the game. Because I feel like that's always going to be up to the player to find out. But yes, it might create more raiders. But at the end of the day, raiders in this game will only become raiders if they go that extra step to learn literally all the stuff from outside sources. Most realistic thing is there'll be a new cash shop mount soon. I think there's no doubt that that's gonna happen, Luppy. That is like pretty much guaranteed, actually. Guys, don't you guys want that epic alpha mount that costs 22 fucking euros and it looks worse than a fucking extreme mount? Yikes. Can't wait to get it. Man. Classic. classic, dude. I can't wait to get that with my 20 euros. Yeah, the storm mounts, they suck, to be honest. A lot of the mounts are actually not that great. Except the dog one. I think the dog one is pretty cool. The one from Eden. The wolf dog, whatever you want to call it. People complain about PF, but it's mostly the game and dev's fault for allowing complete shitters to raid. A lot of the times, though, Kubaks, and I see what you're saying, and you have a point, but a lot of the times it also has to do with the players themselves. They don't want to try. I don't know. Like, part of the reason like that I can do ultimates and raid is because I put in the effort to do it, right? Like, I looked a lot on outside sources, POVs, toolboxes, but at the end of the day, you did have to look at outside sources. The player just has to be willing to do that, basically. I feel like if we're gonna talk about what's the most accessible game for raiding, I think Final Fantasy XIV is the most accessible, because at the end of the day, right? The jobs aren't like crazy complex. The raids, you unlock them by doing normal raid, and then through normal raid you do savage. There isn't like some crazy requirements, right? You just unlock it. Ultimates, less accessible of course, because you need to do the savage, and not everyone is gonna do the savage. So when it comes to accessibility, I think FF14 does a good job, because it will introduce new raiders, and you definitely don't want to run into the situation where you don't have raiders. And the way you don't have raiders is when it's not too accessible. So again, it's a double-edged sword. If you make shit like not too accessible, you're gonna have less raiders by default. If you make things more accessible, there's gonna be more raiders, because the game is more accessible. Like right now, raiding comes within the fact that there's normal raids, right? Like Duty Roulette. There's like, you can play those raids, but Savage, obviously, is gonna be that extra measure that the player has to put in. They have to put in themselves, that effort. And again, it really depends if you actually want to do that content. I don't know, it can be complicated, because I think everyone has their own idea and solutions. But yeah. I mean, I don't know if Stone Sky Sea is gonna be enough. I mean, it's a start because it's like a DPS check that they have to meet. And I get what you're saying, like, it helps with that, but it could be a start. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's enough, though. But they could, I guess, lock Savage behind that, but like at the end of the day, it's, I think FF is more than just, hey, you need to reach the damage check. I think it has a lot more to do with like, I think it's super important to know like the raid language. Not specific fight raid mechanics, but more like raid language first, and then the mechanics of the actual fight. I think, yeah. I think what Rinon was talking about when it comes to raid language, tank busters, stack markers, spreads, whatever, all that stuff, these are things obviously you want to know. That stuff I can agree that there needs to be, that needs to be like explained. I don't see why we can't have a box right here called like raid language or something. Maybe not exactly raid language being the name of it, but something like that. And then you hover over stuff and it tells you like that's what they are, and it shows like an icon and a video, kind of like Black Desert. You know how Black Desert, there's like a video that plays? If you're a Black Desert player, you'd know. But a video plays showing like an ability or something. They could do that with like a mechanic. Like you hover your mouse over this, a video plays here showing like, hey, this is Tank Buster, this is how it looks. I don't know, I'm just giving examples right now. I think they can do more with toolboxes and give more explanations on that if they want to get new players in. And then from that information, they can do that solo trial that Rinon was talking about. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think it would be good for the game in general. Wouldn't mind that. For Savage, you don't need to be a DPS god. Healthy prog mindset, that's worth more than not missing a GCD. Depends. Like, are you doing week 1 or week 2 or whatever? It depends. It depends on the goals. Because obviously if you get the items and stuff, it's gonna be much easier, right? So with Savage, like, it really depends when you're progging it and all that. Or you look that guy that's gonna make things easier, obviously, but yeah. Week 1 is a community-driven thing? Pretty much. I mean, yeah, the week 1 stuff is definitely community-driven, yeah. But again, like you said, you don't need to be a DPS god for Savage. Obviously, there's going to be variances for that, like, depending when you do it, right? If you have less gear, if you have better gear. Like, what if you go 3 weeks without gear? You kind of want to, like, be decent with damage still, I feel. But yeah, like, it depends on your party, I feel. I feel like it's party DPS. Because everyone's going to have their own items and stuff. But yeah, this was interesting, though. That was a good video. Make sure you guys check it out, by the way. Gonna make sure I put it up. This video was made by none other than Rinon. Overall, very good video. Very good video. I'll link it to you guys right here if you guys want to see it for yourself. Overall, my final thoughts on it, I think, generally speaking, it's good for the game if they add another layer to the Hall of Novice, making it better, more accessible for newer players to understand. Raid language, I think that's a big one. Raid language. More role-specific guides on it, like giving more to tanks, more to healers, separating primary healer, shield healer, separate those, make them different in the Hall of Novice. And yeah, I think they can go more deeper, just not too deep to the point where it's more advanced. I think the advanced stuff should be the way it is right now. Look at the balance. The community knows best because they're the ones that have been playing this game for years. The game should explain the essentials, establish the foundation. After the foundation is established, it's up to the player to take that next step. And that's how I feel about it. That's what I think.